Do you have a question?
Oh, yes, I do. It's actually more directed towards you. My name is Audrey Phipps. I go to John Overton High School, and I'm an editor on the online newspaper.
Awesome.
I was just, it's kind of off topic, but I mean, it's for you. I was just wondering if you were aware of how inspiring your other videos, not necessarily your books, are to people my age. Like, for example, your crash course videos are the reason I passed my AP test last year. So,
thank you.
I was just wondering if you were aware of how.
Yeah, I mean, crash course is very important to us, both to my brother and me. I mean, this is something that we love doing, but we're also very passionate about. I mean, I think that the way that teaching, because you learn in a box with a lot of desks in it, and it sort of looks and feels like a prison in a lot of ways. Are you okay?
Sorry, I just broke the chair.
Everything's fine. It doesn't have a little wiggle to it.
Yeah.
It feels like learning is the opposite of fun. But in fact, like, the opportunity to be engaged with the world as we find it is incredibly exciting, and being aware of history is exciting, and learning how to read critically is exciting. And it's difficult for teachers to share that a lot of times, not because they aren't amazing teachers, but because they have to do a lot of other things, like grade your papers and listen to you complain about whatever it is you complain about. And I don't have to do any of those things.
Yeah.
It's a great lesson today. I get to just do the part where I talk about, like, the War of 1812 or whatever.
Yeah.
And so that's, so if we can be the first 10 minutes of your class and get you and everyone else in the room kind of excited and interested in the topic, and then your teachers can go and do the real work.
Yeah.
I'm very, very grateful for that opportunity.
Great, well, thank you.
Answer. Because we really haven't heard, especially from you on this, but I think in a similar vein to what I was bringing up earlier. You two are, and what you just said, you two are friends in the film, and it comes across clearly. Though you're just meeting her at the beginning of the picture, Gus and Hazel, it was all very, very believable. And as a former actor, by the way, I mean, believable to me is where it's all at anyway, ultimately. How did you find your Gus? And, what was your process in all this?
It was definitely very difficult. I did not want to bring Gus to life, and I didn't want to only make him believable, or only make him funny, or this over-the-top guy. I didn't want to make him a jerk. It was really tough to balance all that at first, and I was actually very intimidated by, because he is such an iconic character at this point, and the lines he says are so iconic, and the way he speaks, the looks he gives, the smirk. So there's a lot of things to take into account, but at the same time, keep him real. But I say this all the time, but I think this is actually interesting. It wasn't until I met John Green that it became very apparent the tone of Gus, because I'd never met someone who speaks in the way that Gus speaks until I met John, because John does actually speak the way he writes. It's his tone, it's his unique tone, and he gave his voice to Gus. So speaking to John, I was like, oh, this is where this voice is. So once I found Gus's voice,
It's like a hotter John.
Well, you also had to deal with the special effects of the leg, too.
yeah. So
What was that? Talk about that.
First I understood. I wanted to understand how it works, and there's a certain way the leg works, as it is slightly robotic. And then I wore a brace that stiffened my ankle so that there was no flexibility in the ankle, because if you have a prosthetic, you can't have your ankle flopping around, otherwise it'd be very tough and difficult to walk. However, one of the very interesting things about the leg was that, although physical, there's something emotional, I think, about losing a body part and then having to overcome that. And I met a kid named Tanner Boatwright, who was 17 when I met him, maybe 18 now, and he lost his leg not from cancer, in a hunting accident. He got shot in the back of his knee. Wow. And he had to get it. He remembers getting shot, and then remembers waking up in the hospital without a leg. So, and then he says that he cried for about 10 minutes and said, okay, I guess it's something I'm going to have to deal with. And the next 6 months of his life were hell, the worst 6 months ever. But then he got a prosthetic, and it healed, and he learned how to walk with a prosthetic. And within a year, it was a year later, I was so surprised when he said, yeah, I lost my leg a year ago. And he was walking I took him around New York City, and we ran around, and the train was coming, and I was a little inconsiderate, and I ran down the stairs, like, come on, man, we're gonna miss the train. And he's flying down the stairs. And that, I was like, he's so confident. That kid is so confident. And he'd always like showing pictures on his phone of like, yo, look at this girl that I'm with right now. And it's like, oh, like, Gus has that confidence. He's so confident, and I think there's something about overcoming that actually, I once I met Tanner, said, okay, this is something that I can put into Gus too. This is where that confidence comes from. And it doesn't come from an ingenuine place. It comes from like a kind of an endearing place, like yeah, I overcame something, and I'm proud of that. And that's, you know, you always want to find out why someone is a certain way when you're acting. And that was definitely where a lot of his confidence came from. And then the rest of it, becoming Gus, you just really had to come from the book, because he's described so well in the book. You know, it's not from his first person, but he's described a lot. So a lot of it I could pull from that book, and then obviously I want to be as faithful to the book as possible, because he's, you know, he's perfect in the book the way he's described. So I didn't want to change that too much.
Last question, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. I'm the sponsor of the newspaper, and I want to thank you for being able to have a young person in the room. This is a great opportunity for them. A theme for our newspaper all year has been, we've asked everybody from coaches to everyone we've interviewed, we've asked, is there a theme, a phrase, something when you get really discouraged, that you say to yourself that keeps you going from one moment to the next? I think it's really appropriate from the book that we take that back.
From the book?
No, not necessarily from the book.
I was like, yes, I have one, but I didn't put it in the book.
No, no,
I
but
was like, dang it. Yeah.
no.
I guess it's going to be okay.
But the
Yeah.
idea is that the
Yeah, that's
book
an
is
awesome
inspiring to a lot of people, and I personally have a daughter who takes a lot from your book, but that something that keeps you going in the moment that you feel like you just can't go any further. And I think, Shailene, if you'll start, because that climbing up the steps at the Anne Frank really does. If there was a thing in your head that motivated you to keep climbing up those steps, or something in your life that keeps you going.
Yeah, it would be separate from the movie, just because in the movie, like, you're playing a character or whatnot. But in my personal life, I remember last year, the way that this came was so funny, but last year I cut my hair for this movie, and then we had to do reshoots for a different movie. And the producer came in and was freaking out because I had to wear a wig and was stressed out and just doing her producer thing. And the hair lady goes, dude, calm down. Everything always works out, and then you die anyway. That was Gloria. And it literally, something clicked where I was like, that's such a simple statement. And some people in the room were like, God, it's so dark. And I was like, that's not dark at all. That's so amazing. It's like, we do all die, whether we're 16 and we're Hazel or we're Gus, or whether we're lucky enough to be 100 and are dying of old age. You know, it's just, death happens, and we can't control it, and it's not fair, and you can't justify it, but it happens. So to spend our lives worrying and stressing and feeling guilty about stuff, like, screw it, everything always works out, and then you die anyway. And then like what Hazel says, you're dead, you're gone, no one remembers, like it's, you know, it's over.
All these things you're stressed out about. Yeah.
All these things you're stressed out about, like a wig, or like the traffic lights, or, you know, failing a test, or being late, or letting someone down, no matter what it is, no matter the gravity of the situation, it's all relative, so.
Yeah, for me, it's I used to think this was a Robert Frost quote, but it turned out he never said it. So I guess it's me then. There is a great Robert Frost quote on that topic, though. He's once said, I can sum up everything I've learned about life in 3 words: it goes on.
It does go on.
But this is a kind of an adaptation of a Robert Frost quote, but I find it a very helpful line. The only way out is through. Yeah?
I guess, I don't have a quote that gets you through, but I think it's just passion. And sometimes even, you know, creative passion is kind of the thing that gets me through. You know, anytime, if I put my energy there, I feel like it's energy well spent. And I usually end up liking to be around people who are passionate more than people who aren't. You know, I feel like the less passionate, that's why I even like being around, you know, some crazy people, because I can get along with crazy people more than I can get along with dull people. You know, and but I think that has kept me focused. Just that finding things you love and working as hard as you can.
Yeah, but wow, that's like actually exactly what I was gonna say, Matt, so that's kind of
Sorry.
annoying, but.
I actually did want to go back and say one thing that Angela I didn't get to say is when you guys asked him about his character, that I will say that I was blown away when I saw the movie. It's not with this question, but it's the last question. I just feel like I haven't said it yet, and that there's something about that I didn't understand about Gus until I saw the movie. That is, you know, young actors especially, but I think all actors are so afraid to be big. I mean, it's way cooler to be subtle and small. But in real life, people can be really big. I mean, there are people who are subtle and small, and that's amazing. And that's more like Hazel's character, and Shay can say, you know, can basically say the book in her eyes. I mean, that's true. But there's a lot of performance. You know, there's a lot of performance to life, and I think Angela brings that, where it's like he's doing a performance a lot of the time. And when you said that thing about Tanner, that's what it made me think about, is that when you do have something like that, you just say, I have to, you know, you do a performance to get through, and that's what, you know, most people are doing. Most people aren't at zero all the time, you know.
Thanks, man.
Welcome, dude.
Yeah, that was the tough part about it. Okay, but to my encouragement, not encouragement, those are cheesy, right?
Your real encouragement, the one that stands up to scrutiny like that, like you're gonna die anyway.
Yeah.
That's the last line of the encouragement, it's fine.
Yeah.
It all works out.
Oh, hey, and you're gonna die anyway.
And,
Yeah,
and,
and you're done.
No, it all
Mine,
works out, and then you die.
And then you die anyway, right?
mine is, the thing that keeps me going is always trying to experience new things. It's so freaking cheesy. The thing
No,
is,
it's good.
I know, I always want to experience new things. Like, I do so many freaking things in my life, and people always joke about that. Like, I do so many things. But a lot of the things that I do, like, I don't do anymore. Like, I remember I used to, like, be obsessive about tap dancing when I was 12 years old, 12 to, like, 14. And then I stopped tap dancing, I think, because I found a new interest that I liked even more. At the time was like playing the piano and singing, and now that's changed to producing house music. And now I'm really excited right now because one of the things I'm most excited for in life right now is I want to score a movie. So I think that I will go through life very happy as long as there's always something on the horizon I'm looking forward to trying. I cannot wait to score a movie right now, and that's hopefully after I score a movie, while I'm doing that, there'll be something on the horizon I'm looking to again, saying I cannot wait to do that. I think as long as I live with that attitude, I will live very happily, and as of now, I live very happily.
Can I just note on that really quick? I know we gotta go, but I have an Italian family that I lived with last year, and I met my friend's Nonna, and we were at her house, and she's 87, just like busting around. She doesn't speak any words. Did I send you this email? Yeah. She doesn't speak any word, like no words in English, and I speak zero Italian. She doesn't even know what hello means, like nothing. She walks up and down 3 stories every single day in her apartment to have coffee with her friends, 87, takes care of her like 95-year-old husband who is passing away, and I mean it's so hard to do that, you know. And she does it all on her own. We go over, she teaches me how to cook, and just simply about like the language of love. And finally, after spending like 2 days with her, I looked at her and I was like, my friend translated, and I was like, Nona, how are you so alive at 80s? Like, you're more fit than a lot of 30-year-olds in America, I know. Like, you were able to just do things. And she said back in Italian, she said, it's because, and I expected her to be like, happiness, my family, love keeps me alive, you know, because that's what often you hear. And she goes, I don't give death any room. Death has no room in my life. I only have room for life. So before the bread finishes baking, I'm turning on the music. And before the music is done playing, I'm sewing like my next tablecloth.
Awesome.
That's
Before
awesome.
my next tablecloth is done, I'm taking care of my husband. And before he goes to bed, I got dinner or breakfast for the next morning getting ready. And it reminds me of what you just said of like, if you keep doing that, maybe you'll live to be an 87-year-old. No.
That is what I love about Ansel though, like he makes no, yeah,
Death has
only
no
he only makes room for life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you
That was
guys
Thank
so
you
much.
so much, so wonderful.
Thank you.